It's so good to be with y'all again. I wish I could be there personally, but we are not allowed to make in-person presentations during the COVID restrictions. So we'll do the best we can by doing it as a Zoom meeting. Just a quick update. Many of you are wondering how we're doing. I'm doing well. Ginger and I are doing well. In the middle of December, I got a job with Davidson County Senior Services, and I'm working as the volunteer coordinator for the Senior Services. So I'll talk to you about that in just a minute and give you a little bit of an update there. But I just wanted to let you know we're doing well, and thank you for letting me come and share with you this morning. I've been wanting to do this for a long time. I want to start by telling you, reviewing a story that you all know, and that is in Luke's gospel, he gives us the account of a lawyer that puts Jesus to the test. He comes to Jesus and he says, "Teacher, what must I do to inherit eternal life?" And Jesus said, "How do you read the scriptures? What do they say?" And he said, the scriptures say that we're to love the Lord our God with all of our heart, with all of our soul, and with all of our mind, and with all of our strength. And we're to love our neighbors as ourselves. And Jesus said, you've answered correctly. Do this and you will live. The guy wanted to know how to have eternal life. And Jesus said, do what you just said. Love the Lord and love your neighbor, and you'll have eternal life. But the man wanted to justify himself. He wanted to make himself look good. So he said, well, who is my neighbor? Do you remember what Jesus said in answer to that? He told him a parable, told him a story, and it's the story that you and I know as the Good Samaritan. So it tells about the man that's walking down the road. He's a Jewish man. He's attacked by robbers and thieves. They beat him and leave him half dead and half naked. And he's laying there helpless. And along the road comes a priest. And the priest sees him, but he skirts to the other side of the road so he doesn't have to go near. But he knew he was there. And he keeps on going. A little while later, a Levite comes along, and he sees the man, but again, he skirts around the other side of the road and keeps on going. And then a little while later, a Samaritan comes, and he's going down the road, and he sees the man. This isn't going to be a sermon, but just to tell you in brief, the Samaritans hated the Jews, and the Jews hated the Samaritans. The animosity there was very, very deep. And it goes way back in their history from the time of the Babylonian captivity. But there was bad, bad feelings between the Jews and the Samaritans. So here comes a hated Samaritan. And he sees the man, and Jesus said he was moved with compassion. And so he gets off of his horse, he goes, his donkey, and he goes and he bandages the man's wounds, pours oil and wine in them, sterilizing them, treating them, helping the man. And then he takes him to an inn, and he takes care of him. And the next morning he leaves the inn, he pays the innkeeper, essentially saying, don't spare any expense, I'll cover it. You take care of this man, and when I return, I'll pay you for all that you spent. And so the man goes. Jesus turned to the lawyer, and he said, which of those three acted like the man's neighbor? And the lawyer said, well, the Samaritan, of course. And Jesus said to him, now you go and do the same thing. The Samaritan simply helped someone who was in need that he was able to help. He didn't know the man, never seen him before, but he could help. He could do something to help. And so that's what I wanted to talk to you about this morning. You're my brothers and sisters in Christ, and you are in many ways one of the most valuable resources that we have in society. So I want to talk to you about that. To do that, I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to do a presentation so that I think it will help you to understand what I'm talking about. Bear with me a second while I get this switched, and we'll walk through this together. Okay, someone tell me, can you see a big white screen that says Davidson County Senior Services? Can't hear. Okay. All right. So Davidson County Senior Services is the company that or the group that I work for. So what are they doing to help those in need? So what's the mission of the senior services? They have a very specific mission. I'm going to walk you through it. It is to empower, engage, and encourage the aging population of Davidson County. Davidson County has a very high number in the aging population. And so the county has committed an enormous amount of resources to empowering, engaging, and encouraging them, the seniors. So I want to talk to you about that. It's simply, you could say it's empowering the aging. But let's look at that real quickly. First of all, it's the mission of the group that I work with to empower seniors. There is an unbelievable amount of resources that are available for seniors. I have been staggered as I've been introduced to this in the last 3 months. All of the provisions that are available to help seniors in 100 different ways. It is really staggering. Most seniors don't know what's available. And so a big part of what we're doing is educating them, saying we've got so many things available. We just want to communicate with you and let you know so that you have the power to help yourselves. Secondly, to engage them. In the last 50 years, there have been an enormous amount of studies devoted to studying the aging. And the results are very telling. It's been very, very interesting. And I'll tell you more about that. But we want to engage the elderly because as people get older, they lose contact with others in an increasing way. And that has some very bad effects. So we want to empower them, say, hey, you've got lots of resources. We want to engage them and be with people who don't have others with them. And then thirdly, we want to encourage them. Just to encourage them. We all need encouragement. You need it. I need it. 3,000 years ago, almost 3,000 years ago, King Solomon said, a joyful heart is a good medicine, but a broken spirit dries out the bones. So people who are left by themselves, their bones dry out. They need encouragement. They need other people in their lives. So here's where I'm headed. As a person gets older, what I'm going to share with you now is the result of a lot of research, and research coming in from all different educational institutions and private institutions all point to the same things. And that is, as a person gets older, they lose what they call social capital. That is, they lose interaction with other people. So well, I'll walk you through that. The loss of relationship increases as a person ages, and that presents some very serious problems. So how does that happen? Well, when a person gets older, they retire. So they're no longer in a job, which means they're no longer with people every day. People aren't depending on them. People don't look up to them. They're not engaging and responsible for things. They're retired and they don't have that place in society. As people age, often friendships decrease as people get older. Maybe their friends die. The friends retire, they move away, they move into a facility for retirement. But friendships begin to decrease as a person gets older. Spouses pass away, leaving a person home alone, which reduces their connections with other people and decreases their ability to participate in community activities. Often, a lot of the people that we're dealing with have very little ability to participate in community activities because their health restricts them, or they don't have transportation, or nobody's checking on them. So as connectivity decreases, social capital is lost. And y'all, it is a very significant problem, and it's not rocket science as to how to help. So that's why I'm coming to you this morning, because you all have enormous potential to help. So let's just look at a couple things here. The mission of the county is to empower, engage, and encourage the aging population of Davidson County. Why is that important? Let me give you 4 reasons. First of all, it prolongs life. The death rate is 35% higher among people who are socially isolated. Could you let that soak in for just a minute? One study I was reading yesterday as I was reading research said 51% higher. People who aren't engaged with other people die much more quickly. quickly. What you all are doing today, getting together, sharing a meal, interacting, telling stories, having fun, all of that clearly and definitely prolongs life. I never knew that till these last 3 months, that the death rate dramatically increases among people who have no one involved in their lives. And the research is consistent across the board. Secondly, it prevents loneliness. Loneliness is not being alone, it's feeling like no one cares. People are lonely in a big city because there's no one involved in their life. So you can have a single lady in a neighborhood who has neighbors all around her, but nobody checks on her or him. And loneliness becomes very, very painful. My father lost my mother 3 years ago. And in the last 3 years, he said the loneliness has been extraordinarily difficult. So that's a serious issue. Social interaction prolongs life, it prevents loneliness, and it protects good health. There's a lot more than the 3 that I've listed here, but the studies show consistently that interaction with other people improves blood pressure, reduces the risk of obesity. People who are left alone are at greater risk for obesity. Why is that? Because we want to fill ourselves up and there's no people in our lives, so we eat. And that brings its own problems. And then this third one fascinated me, that it actually strengthens the immune system. You all gathering there together, interacting with one another, sharing, laughing, talking, eating a meal together, physically strengthens your immune system. So the opposite is true. When someone is left alone, their body begins to weaken. I didn't know all that. That really, really surprised me. This fourth one did not surprise me because we're all pretty aware of this, that when a person is left by themselves, their anxiety goes up. Depression increases. In fact, suicide is a real issue. I don't know if you know that, but suicide is an issue. We now have a suicide hotline that people can call if they're a senior and they're just at the end of their rope. I just had a dear friend this week take their life, who lived by themselves. And it was a very, very, very sad thing. A brother in the Lord, by the way. The third thing under promoting health that I did not know is that the mental capabilities decline when a person is left by themselves. They have to have interaction. That's what has made COVID the effect of COVID has been so serious on shut-ins, particularly people in a healthcare setting where nobody come to visit them. Their mental ability actually begins to decrease and dementia comes on much more quickly. I didn't know that interacting with other people prevents or it postpones or pushes dementia way down the road, or maybe holds it off completely. But again, the studies are consistent on this. And I'm just giving you kind of an oversight here, just a 30,000 feet view. So why is it important that your county is devoting several $1 million? The budget for senior services is multi-million every year. There are, I believe, 30 people on staff. That shocked me. I thought, I had no idea. But what happens, what the senior services is doing is saving people's lives, helping them not to be lonely, increasing their health, and increasing their mental health as well. So that's a big deal. So if Pablo or someone there could unmute your speaker and tell me, could I hear from the audience, do you have a guess as to how many volunteers work for Davidson County Senior Services? Any guesses? How many people volunteer? I was totally shocked. On my spreadsheet at work, there's 700 volunteers in Davidson County and some in Forsyth County who come to Davidson County. The program at Davidson County is so good that it has a reputation with other counties, not just locally, but nationally, The program is very well run. So there's people coming from all over Davidson County and from some neighboring areas to volunteer at Davidson County working with the senior services. 700. I was totally shocked. Blew me away. 21% of those volunteers, can you guess the age group? Are they in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s? How, if you were to guess, what percentage of our people made up 20, or what age people made up 21% of our volunteers? What would you guess? What age group is the most active? People in their 60s. Now watch this. The 60s is not the largest group. 40% of the people that volunteer to help the seniors, guess what age group they are? 70 to 80, 70 to 79. That's almost half of the people who volunteer at senior services are in their 70s. That surprised me. I did not anticipate that. 14% are in their 14% of 700 are in their 80s. That's a lot of people. Let me just check my math here real quick and see if I've got that written down. Yeah, it's just about 100, just under 100 people are in their 80s. Listen, we've got one 90-year-old who volunteers for senior services. She's a senior, but here's the thing. She is still able to help. So as long as she's able, she can be like the Good Samaritan. She can help. Those statistics that I just showed you really surprised me. There's so many. Y'all, that's 75% of our volunteers are between 60 and 100 years old. So that's y'all. You fit in that category. Most of you will be in that category. I'm just saying you're not too old to help others in need. Many seniors think, well, what can I do? You know, I can't do anything to help anyone. Yes, you can. I was talking to a lady yesterday who is in her 90s. She had to stop volunteering because of COVID. She was 89 last year. She turned 90, so she can't volunteer now because of COVID. But she turned 90 about 3 or 4 weeks ago. She told me before COVID, I delivered Meals on Wheels. She's healthy. She can be active, so she goes out to help people. I just want to make a point. You're not too old to help others in need. If you're mobile, there's things you can do. Okay, so how can I be involved? Let me go over a couple things. I'm not going to do this right now, but I'll have Pablo hand out to you. All right, bear with me here. I'm going to get myself back on the picture. Bear with me here. Okay, can you see me again? Okay, so I'm going to have Pablo afterwards hand out 2 sheets of paper. The first one looks like this. It's called a fact sheet, and it will give you all kinds of facts about the senior services. It'll give you a rundown on some of the things that are available where people can volunteer and help out. Then a second sheet is a little brochure. On the back, it has a list of all the ways you can contact senior services if you're interested. Phone numbers, addresses, websites, Twitter, Facebook, email, all that stuff is on there. So they can hand them out to you, and you can look through them later. The third thing I want to show you is this. And I don't think they're going to hand this out, but they're going to make these available because I only gave them 25 copies. It's an application. So it's a 7-page application. The first 3 pages just tell about the senior services. The last 4 are for you to fill out. If you are interested in applying to help, you can fill out that application and mail to me the last 4 pages, which have all your information on. Because our volunteers are going into the homes of seniors who are vulnerable, we are very careful and do background checks on everybody. So the application is fairly thorough. On the first page, it gives you all the options of things that we're doing, and you can check the things that you may be interested. So if you would like an application, ask Pablo afterwards. He'll give you an application. You can fill it out. My address is on the front, and you just mail it to me, pages 4, 5, 6, and 7. You can mail them in. I'm going to talk to you about in closing, the biggest thing that we need help for, and then about COVID and where we are right now. And then I'm going to sign off. The most volunteers with Davidson County Senior Services deliver for Meals on Wheels. So there are people who can't get out of their house and who don't have family involved. Listen, I went to visit a lady 2 weeks ago who has, her husband's gone, she lives by herself, and she has one son. She does not know where he is, but he knows where she is. But he won't come to see her. He won't call her. She has no way of contacting him. She's totally, completely by herself. So I went to visit her and talk with her, and we maintain contact with her and check on her. The 90-year-old lady I told you about, I call her every day. She lives by herself. Loneliness is her biggest difficulty. She's bored and very, very lonely. That's painful. So some people get Meals on Wheels not because they need the food so much, they just long to see another human face. So Meals on Wheels delivers 5 hot meals during the week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. We need drivers to do that. So we have areas of the county mapped out where there may be 15 people on a route. Let's say, for example, we have Central. There's a route, Central 1 and Central 2, 2 different routes. On those routes, maybe 10 or 15 people. The Meals on Wheels folks drive to the pickup place, pick up the hot meals for those families, and then drive to those 15 homes, walk to the door, give them a hot meal, talk with them for a few minutes, make sure they're okay, show them the love of Jesus, and then go to the next stop. That develops often into friendships. And often our drivers will keep up with some of the families they visit, and just check on them throughout the week, call them, etc., because they become dear friends. So Meals on Wheels requires, we have 23 routes, 5 days a week. It requires hundreds of volunteers. It's just someone who can drive, take the meal to the door, check on the person, and then let us know. If the person doesn't answer the door, then the driver calls us, and we immediately send a family member or a staff member to check on them. So it's a very, very good thing. Right now during COVID, we are not allowed to deliver 5 meals a day or a meal every day. So we deliver on Mondays 5 frozen meals. That's not as good as during the non-COVID time, but until the restrictions are lifted, we deliver only on Mondays, and it's a box of 5 frozen meals that they can heat up one in the microwave every day. So that's not as good, but it still gives us contact with those people once a week. When the restrictions for COVID lift, we're going to need hundreds of people. Those 700 people that are on my list, some of them won't come back, or they've moved, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't know how many of them will come back when the COVID restrictions lift. So that's why I'm talking to you. If you feel like you could volunteer and help out, fill out an application and mail it to me, and I will begin processing the application. I am constantly interviewing new people and getting their applications ready for when the restrictions lift, because it will require a lot of people to jump in there and help. And the Samaritan, as he was going down the road, all he did was love his neighbor as himself. Who's my neighbor? Jesus said, it's the man that you see that's in need. That's your neighbor. So I think, don't quote me on this, there's either 25 or 35,000 seniors in Davidson County. That's a lot of people to take care of. Not all of them need help, but the ones that do, we're trying to find out and to reach them. And you can be a help. So thank you. Thanks for listening. Of all the congregations, I know you the best, but I thought that Meadowview would probably have the most willing participants of any church I know. So I wanted to share with you. I don't know if I can take questions. I may be out of time, Pablo. I probably ran a little bit too long. if there's pressing questions, I'd be glad to take them. If
Maybe we have 5 minutes for questions. Any questions for Chris? It's good to see you, Chris.
Thank you. It's good to see a little bit of you too. On my computer, you are very tiny, and on your screen, I'm probably very large. But it's good to see y'all. Thank you. Thank you for letting me share with you. God bless you. All right. Bye-bye.